Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is another episode of MillenniYell with Billy and Mel. So, what's going on, guys? So,
What's up?
hopefully, everybody's had a really good week. It's been kind of rainy and crazy here, but hopefully, wherever you're watching from, it's been a great week so far for you. And guys, if you're going to be jumping on the live, which a lot of you will, please make sure you comment where you are coming in from, who you are. We'd love to give you a shout out, and just make sure that you have a good time when you're here. We want to provide you with good value. So if we're doing that, let us know in the comment section. We'd love to see that. And what we're talking about today, I think, is really. And I feel like I say this every show. I'm like, this is a really good topic. And, I mean, this is a great.
We entertain
topic.
ourselves. Like, we hope our listeners are entertained just as much as we are.
So I think this is a great topic just because it's so relevant to today, especially with working at home, technology. A lot of people are making, because we did a podcast on a lot of people becoming entrepreneurs and self-employed people. So, and when you do that, sometimes like they say like your physical business might close, right? You used to have a physical business. You used to have a brick and mortar business. That might close, but the business is open 24/7, right? And so what we want to talk about today is, how as entrepreneurs, self-employed people, we set work boundaries, why it's important, maybe some stories we have about those things. But before
we've got stories every week.
Definitely got stories. So, but before we get into all that, Mel, what is going on? How are you doing? How's life?
I am good. I was noticing. Sorry, I was so distracted, and my teeth look so white because
I was like, I didn't know if a new camera or something like that.
I think it's because I got my spray tan that I usually go. Shameless plug, Bronze Bunny. But I have my spray tan and I also have this dark lipstick on, and my teeth just look so white that I couldn't stop laughing, looking at them. But yeah, a week has been good. I got back to the gym. I got back into my routine. I was starting to go in the mornings and getting up at 6, going to the gym at 6:30, and I feel so productive. I ended up going some of the afternoons, and I get really tired after that. Like, I shower and eat, and then I'm done. So I need to go in the mornings. I've tested both, and I just feel super productive, and just feeling a lot better with that and going in the mornings. And today is my sister's birthday, so happy birthday, Amy. We went, and
happy birthday.
My family and a bunch of our friends went and surprised her at the facility that she's at, and she wanted Taco Bell. Unfortunately, I'm going to feel like shit for the rest of the day. I'll try 2 soft Taco Supremes, which I have not eaten Taco Bell for probably 8 years, but I did it for her. And yeah, I have 0 plans this weekend, and I'm just going to get caught up on work. So it's a good day. The sun is shining.
Yeah. That's half the battle right there. Yeah, we don't have tons of plans. I know Megan's parents, I believe, might stop by tomorrow, and we'll just probably hang around the house and do some stuff around the house. But tonight, it's just kind of just normal Friday night at the Zerillo homestead, not doing a whole lot. Just maybe hang out and do some cool stuff. Who knows? But
awesome.
But anyways, guys, we want to know, if you're self-employed, right? If you're, work for yourself, let us know in the comment section. Maybe drop your business below. We want to know that so we can give you guys a shout out. But
absolutely.
But what we want to do today is, like I said, is talk about setting boundaries. Because I actually came up with this topic because I sent Mel an article, maybe Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember what it was, but it was an article about that. And the reason this idea came to my head is because it was probably about 8 o'clock at night, maybe a couple of nights ago. And it was when I was on vacation, and I was at the Outer Banks when we did the last MillenniYell with Derek. I was at the beach, and it was just crazy because I was still having to answer emails, even though those people knew I was going to work, and I was on vacation, which I don't mind, right? I'm going to preference that as I know that's the name of the game, and I'd much rather do that than work for somebody else. So I'm going to preference that whole thing. But it was just like, when do you shut that off? Like, when do you set those boundaries? And so I started doing some research, and I was like, Mel, what do you think? Like, what do you think about setting boundaries? And I know you have some stories that you definitely want to share too. So
yeah, absolutely.
What are your thoughts? Like initial
thoughts. I mean, I've been dealing with this my whole career because of having my own business and because of, making my own hours and working nights and weekends and, working with friends. So I definitely, this hits home for me a lot. Even recently, I have these conversations, maybe daily, or I might be out with friends. And even just last night, I got an email, from something, and, I definitely have a lot to yell about today about MillenniYell about.
Yeah. I mean, because it's weird, because like when I feel like it, you've always owned your own business, right? You've never per se worked for corporate America, whereas that's where I started, and it was, I like the higher I got up in management, right, the more responsibility you had, and so you did have to respond when you were off. But it's not like what it is when you're self-employed. Like, you get text messages late at night, and you get emails late at night, or just maybe on the weekend, on a Sunday. Like, you're always getting messages, and it's like you want to answer them, but I've started setting a boundary where if they email me, right, maybe I don't email right back right away really quickly, because I think it's all comes down to like setting like a precedence, right? Like, do it, they're going to expect you to do it all the time, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what that's obviously what boundaries are. And I think that for me, if we're going to get right into it, I mean, for me, it's really hard because there's, I try to set hours, obviously doing like a 9 to 5, but I have a hard time shutting it off. I sometimes I have to get caught up. Sometimes I can, because I can work nights and I can work weekends. And unfortunately, people see those emails coming through at those times. And then I think that they assume it kind of opens this gateway almost for them to expect to be working all the time. Like, that was just my decision to work that night or to work that weekend, or, and whether it's get caught up or get ahead, or I'm just so busy that I need to work those times. It's really frustrating for me because I'll get an email it just happened a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we talked about this, but I got an email from somebody at 4 or 5 o'clock on a Friday. And then sure enough, like Sunday morning or afternoon, it was like, did you get my email? And what I do a lot is I wait till Monday morning at, 8, 9 a.m. when I'm at my desk and say, yes, I received your email Friday night, and Sunday morning, I don't work weekends, and I will get back to you within 24 business hours. And it's hard because there's that fine line, because they did see me maybe the weekend before doing it, they just assumed, but I don't want people to be assuming that I have family time and my time and me time that, so it's really hard. I try to give my like office hours up front, but it's so difficult when you have your own business. I think and everyone wants things instantly too. I mean, I get it. We're Amazoning, we're getting things delivered next day, and it's such an instant gratification that people are almost expecting it. But I have to try to like retrain people sometimes and have to say over and over, these are my office hours, just to kind of keep going.
Yeah, that conversation is always weird. Like when like, it's like weird. Like, you don't want to have that conversation. It's a needed conversation, but not everybody, is always messaging us at like all godly hours of the day. But it's like, I think it was even like you said before, it's like now we live in a world that's like instant, message. You have instant stuff. Like, it's right at your fingertips, and you can send a quick email, a quick text, right? And so quick. That, I mean, just as much as, I don't want to say the client or the customer, it's their fault, right? But it's a two-way street. Like, it's not just like, hey, like, I'm accepting these, or I'm getting these messages and it's frustrating. But like, if you're accepting them and writing back and responding, you know, on the times that where you know, for me, like I really tried to set time away from what I'm doing, like on a work basis. And, you know, I know for you, like our businesses are completely different. And so I know like you with the cards and stuff like that, I mean, you have like brides, right? And like stuff like that. And they want answers like yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what that has to do like.
Well, that, and you know, that there's definitely differences in clients. You know, some of the restaurants, and it's kind of like the brides in the restaurants are the ones that, you know, definitely are on top of things, especially if they're behind schedule with their invitations. But some of the design work is, you know, we need it. There's deadlines, obviously. And some of these places that are so used to getting their stuff delivered, this, you know, getting things so quickly, they think that it's just going to be like the same day turnaround when I'm booked out for a week. But sometimes, but I can move some things around. But two things, definitely, I can design because of my business. Like I can do stuff at night and weekends. You know, it's not like that interaction where, the meetings and stuff and any type of calls and certain things that you're doing have to be through like business hours. But because I can sit till whatever hours of the night and just, you know, I'm just doing it myself on the, you know, in the back end and sending proofs and all that stuff. It's kind of hard getting it to them, and then again, like them responding and kind of going back and forth. Sometimes they're doing their stuff after work too. So they're getting, you know, their time is when they sit down to review certain things. It's after work. They're sending it to me, but then my day, it gets to the next day. You know, it's like not where I'm going to just respond right away at 9:00 at night. I try to wait till business hours to do most of the emailing part. But yeah, I mean, the other thing, I could go on for that. I could go on with tons of examples about that, but I also want to go in on texting as well, because I prefer not to text for business because I need to have records of everything. And I really like to keep emails in folders. And it's proof also that, hey, no, you said this, or hey, I gave you this price. So I like to have those most of my communication in writing and via email, or we'll pick up the phone call and we'll go over certain things over the phone. But I don't like the texting because that's more for me. It's like social, and it's just not. I just don't like it for business because of keeping things organized and, you know, having that. And I have a fine line between people that I know and whether I'm friends or they, you know, they. I don't want to say that they think that we're more friends, but I mean, I like to keep things professional when I'm doing that stuff. And if you're going to text me, I don't have that always I don't have that at my computer, at my desk. I have to go onto my phone, and then I have to either send it to myself or copy and paste or forward. And it's just not efficient for me. So I have people that will even text, information, and I'm like, no, I don't want any information sent via text. But I also I just don't like communicating that way. Even with friends, I want to stick to it business. So that's where the boundaries that I create with that is, hey, all this has to be done by email. Like, you know, love you to death, but I need you to email me. Like, they get texts like, can you make a sign for me? Can you make a poster? Can you make a card? Well, yeah, absolutely, but I need you to email me. So I literally right off the bat say, send me an email. You know, sometimes I'm out in the car and I'm just like driving and I'm like, I'm not home. Like, send me an email so when I get to my desk, it's there and I'll get it started, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think, I mean, and this is, you know, what I like these moments in the show is that where I get to disagree with you. But
you, boo boo.
I actually like using text messages and not to say that you probably don't use it for any business, but you know, so many times do I run into the situation where I called somebody, I've written them an email, right? I've sent them a Facebook message and nothing. But as soon as I send them a text, it's like instant response. Right. So for me, like the text message is really the vessel to get on the phone or to get the email or to get this, right? Because
absolutely.
I think times have changed, you know, like maybe 20, 15 years ago, especially like in sales and stuff like that, you know, the people used to like spend hours cold calling people and stuff like that. But like not a lot of people want to get on the phone anymore,
right,
and respond that way. And so, for me, definitely text messages is a big part. It's like, hey, can I call you? Hey, are you available? Like, but in the same token is like you get those responses, and they could be hours later, right? Like,
right.
and that's the problem you run into. Is like, well, do I answer this? Like, do I do because I don't want to set that precedence of like at 9:00 at night, be like, sending them a text message back,
Right.
you run into that issue. So,
well, yeah. And I mean, that's another thing is people, I guess that's also, I got in a habit with a couple of people that I knew that were clients that were friends first, and then they would send texts, and it was like 9-10 o'clock at night. And to me, I was raised to like, don't call during dinner time, like that when before cell phones existed. When the phone would ring, it's during dinner. But I also don't like to text people before like 8-9 o'clock, and I don't like to text people after 9 o'clock, maybe. Friends, yes, very like close friends and family, okay, but I just feel like that's family time, and you're with, you could be with your significant other and or sleeping, So I have like my hours of what I try to do, because I've gotten a text at 6 a.m., 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Like that is way too early to be texting somebody, right? And then at night, like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I just said, look, at this point, like, I don't do this via text. I need everything by email, and I am done for the day. It is 10 o'clock at night. There's not much I can do. Please email me. Like, I'll do this in the morning or something. And then there was like another text came through, and I said, I do not want to get in the habit of this. Like whether it's a friend thing or an acquaintance, like we're not friends, but I just said, I cannot get in the habit of this. It's 11. And it was like, at that point it became like 11. And I mean, I'm single and I am alone, but at the same time, like I don't want even that, for myself when I'm alone, if I wasn't, but I really had to say, like, I don't want to get in the habit of this. I could see if, if people were trying to get a hold of me because I wasn't responding via email, or maybe I didn't get their email, or they didn't hear from me and they're like, hey, just checking in, I sent you a couple emails. That would be bad on my part if I didn't respond enough to somebody has to text me. But that would be like the only thing that or, hey, I sent you an email, just wanted to give you a heads up. Hey, that's fine. But when it starts to get to be where the line of communication is, for me, we're doing email, and then when you start over here with the text, it's just too confusing. I need to keep everything in one thing. That's just me, because I sit at my desk, and it's the work that I do. That information I need to copy and paste a lot of times into my design program. It's not going to do anything for me if it's in a text message, But again, that's just my field, I guess, is different from yours. But I don't mind the little. I don't mind the little reminders or or things via text. But I try to keep. That's, I guess, where I try to keep the work and the life balance. That's where I think I try to keep things separate.
Yeah, and. I was just thinking about it is like, some, I don't know if this is a bad thing that I do, a good thing that I do, but like I always tell my clients, like, I'm like, hey, especially if they become my clients, right? They need to be able to communicate with me or call me if something's going on or something like that. They need something. But, I always tell my clients, like, hey, you can, you have my number, shoot me a message. I used to just say, hey, shoot me a message anytime, right? Is what I first started saying when I first got into business for myself. And then I've made a hybrid of that. I'm like, hey, shoot me a message anytime. I'll get back to you, as soon as I can, or, when it's convenient or something along those lines, to kind of set that boundary, because it's just weird because you want to get back to them because you don't want to seem like you're ignoring them, but like you don't want to, like, that's like my fear. It's like, oh, if I don't answer back in, like I had a client one time tell me, and she's not even a client, right? She's not even a client. I was talking to some lady and she was saying like, hey, you know, I want to, you know, get some of your services and stuff like that. And I started just talking to her. She didn't, like I said, she didn't end up becoming my client, but she said, yeah, my husband expects like if he texts you, you text back within an hour. And like that was one of the reasons why I was like, oh, you know, maybe this is not going to be a great relationship because I can't commit to that. Like, you know,
I can't even commit to that with like my family and friends. I mean, let alone a client. I mean, dude, like what if I'm, you know, it's like I'm busy. I'm sleeping, taking a nap. No, I mean, what if there's times where I'm out for dinners or events and I, you know, or I'm working events, whether it's a social thing or, you know, a work thing, you're not on your phone all the time either. I mean, yeah, we are on our phones all the time, but we're not. And I mean, that's hard. That would be
I mean, like I said, they didn't end up becoming clients, which I guess in hindsight is not a bad thing. But another thing, like going back to this article that I kind of sent you, how to set boundaries with clients.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things it talks about is setting like times to is getting a client phone, like a phone.
Separate one.
Clients. And I haven't personally done that. I know people that have. I know like a lot of realtors do that just because like I feel like real estate agents just get like worked over. I mean, it's just like they're getting calls at all kinds of times of the night. And
oh my God, my friend just posted a meme. It was like two people in a pool and it was the wife had posted it because the husband's a realtor and Liz and Chris, and it was in a pool or something or at the beach. And he's on his phone and it says this is what like living with a realtor is like, right? And it was like two people standing, the one person's there like in the water at the beach and the other person's in the water right next to them on their phone, you know, getting hit up. Because it's true.
I saw that one too. I saw like a different version. I think it was like, it looked like it was the Kardashians.
Oh, okay.
And that meme has been going around for
millennial meme.
Well, look at that. We're not at the end of the show, guys, so don't worry.
No, not yet.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's just like it's like a catch-22. It's just like you do want to do it, but you don't want to like. I don't even know.
It's hard. It is. It's that balance, like we said, because you want to be available. You want to be available and let them know that you're accessible and that you're there for them and that you're responsive, but you don't want them to expect you to be on call. That's what I say. I'm not on call.
That's a good point.
Because I think that's where we're at in just because of that whole instant gratification and everything. And you think that people, I jokingly say a lot. I mean, there's people that I just honestly think, that I am just, they think that I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, like waiting for an email to come through, like, oh, something happened. Let me, you know, and it's hard because, you know, I'm 20 projects. I have 20 projects to do before I can even start start it. And I do think that people, they just don't know. And it is education. I used to get really mad about it. I used to get pissed. And they just don't know. And like, I think when you educate them, it, you know, hopefully they get it. If they don't, then then I get even more mad. You know, if you had to explain it over and over, to me, that's just like disrespectful. They're not listening and they're not valuing your boundaries that you're trying to make for them. And that has happened a lot, but, you know, because some people just are going to continue with it, but the cell phone, I absolutely have thought about that, especially when I had my retail shop. I was going to have like an actual phone where there would be like a voicemail. Hey, thank you for calling me to keep. Shameless plug. You know, if you'd like to talk to Melissa, click 1. If you'd like to leave please leave a message or we'll get back to you, whatever it was. and it could be forwarded to my phone. Like if it's like, hey, if you need to speak to, to me now. I still debate on doing that because I have my cell phone, and it's a good thing that you brought this up about the actual other phone versus your cell phone, because also it's your private number. There's also something to be said about giving out, that number versus having a completely separate line that is like a professional, like a 1-800 number, and you can get them online and it would actually call to your cell phone, but it's a 1-800 number. So it's not really like, it's not your personal cell phone. It looks a little better sometimes when there's like a 1-800 number. But I have thought about that too. Eventually I think I will, with the phone, but yeah, I mean, I think trying to keep, I try to keep somewhat of like business hours that I try to give to people. And then I also try to stick to with the emails, and not, I'm trying to do better with responding like the next day, but it's hard.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Interesting thought here is, we were preaching about like, obviously like us being entrepreneurs and this happening to us, but are we the same? Do we reciprocate the same for other people that are in entrepreneurial spots? Do you like, I know I try to go out of my way and try to like recognize when people, if you're using somebody else's services, especially, from a entrepreneurs, self-employed person, you try to use other, especially local business, right? You talk about it all the time with the organizations that you're involved with, right? I talk about it all the time, supporting local businesses and stuff like that. And I try to give the benefit of the doubt and try to, understand people have a life outside of what they do as a profession. And we talked about that in a podcast, I believe, like separating yourself from your work, right? Like, or separating your personality and who you are as a person from your work. We're on episode 49 for those that don't know, by the way.
Oh my gosh, we're almost at 50, guys.
So we're halfway, we're almost halfway to 100, guys. We're moving right along. But I find that interesting too.
Yeah, I definitely think I have an appreciation, a different perspective on it, because it's how I want to be treated. It's like treat people the way that you want to be treated. And I feel like I try to accommodate those people that are like the self-employed. And in my situation, I look at it, and I compared this one time. I had a woman that, had money, had status, had a lot of things, I'm sure, just gone her way. And, she wanted me to deliver her job, and I had a retail shop. And I said, look, I have retail hours. You're welcome to pick up your order anytime. And it was in the contract. It was in the notes. And, it was like, oh, you're not going to deliver it for me. And I said, no. I said, if you buy something at Target, I'm a retail store. I'm a service, but I have an actual store and I have retail hours. But I said, if you're going to Target, if you're going to order something from Target, or you're going to go in the store and you're going to buy something, they're not going to deliver it to you. You have to go and pick it up. And that's just like me. Like, I don't, here's what the rule, I don't want to say the rules, but here's how it goes. And she actually said, I can't believe you won't deliver this to me. And I said, you know what? I will, for $25 delivery fee. But I have a husband. I was married at the time. And I said, I have a husband, not family, but I was like, I go home, and it's out of my way to come to you, to deliver this. It's taking time away from my personal time and my family. But for $25, sure, it's gas, it's time. I explained it, and she paid, and I did. So you know what? It worked out. But it's funny that that people, I guess it's not really boundaries, but they expect certain things. So I try to flip it, like you said, going back to that whole thing, and looking at their schedule and what they're doing after and all those things too. I don't think that I have unruly or high, like crazy expectations of other people just because I've gone through it too.
Yeah, and Anthony makes a good point here. He said it's also important to point out that you'll show up a better version of yourself if you don't allow yourself to wear out by not meeting your own needs. Yeah. And I think that's super important. I mean, like, burning what do they call it? Burning the candle at both ends, right? And it's like, you got to be, for everybody, like for any new client you get, for any new business you get, you have to be the best possible version of yourself, because it's your business card. It's the way they're going to refer you, right? Like that's like, it's one thing to land business, but it's another thing to get the referral. And that's really ultimately a really important part of the whole deal, is getting a referral, because it's, it's nice to get that one piece of business, but it's nicer to get multiple pieces of business. So,
right.
And then,
well, yeah. And I think he's right. I mean, he's basically, and he made another comment because he wasn't sure the first one, but I think it's like, if he's right. If you're focusing on what other people, other people's needs, and, you're not going to be able to perform the way that you need to and should, because you're bending over for everybody, backwards for everybody else. And it's not really fair to you to, to change what you want to do in your boundary. Like we said, creating these boundaries. It's just like in relationships and friendships. I mean, if you're, the whole idea that we set them is so that people don't take advantage of us, really. Yeah. And that we are true to ourselves, like he said, and what we want to do and who we are. I think, it goes hand in hand with clients too, because they'll just take advantage if you're not, if you're not setting those boundaries from the start, with your time and your money. And time is money, right?
Yeah, so true. And so, I mean, and it goes back to like, going on his point, like you got to be the best possible version for yourself, right? But you got to be a good version going home, like especially if you do have a spouse, you do have kids, right? And all that stuff is like, or even just regular family members, right? It doesn't matter who's at home or who you're going to meet, friends. Like you want to be a good version of yourself. Like I remember coming home and just being drained, right? Just like, and this is talking about when I worked in the hotel world. It's just like I'd come home and I'd just be drained. And Megan didn't deserve that, right? Like my friends didn't deserve that. My family didn't deserve that. And it's because I couldn't shut it off. And it's just the same thing. Thanks, Anthony, for jumping on, buddy. Appreciate it. But yeah, I think, going back to his comment, it's just, like you said, you want it. It's such a balancing act, right? It's like you want to be there for your clients, but at the same time, if you aren't, cognizant of your needs,
right?
Like when you come back the next day or on Monday or whatever it is, like, every little thing they say, you're going to like get upset, right?
Right.
Like
build up.
Yeah. The wires are already frayed, right? Like like they say something like tiny that would not have mattered to you in the slightest. Like you would have just shrugged it off. Oh, whatever. Like, but the little comment just sets you off, right? And it might you might say something to that client. You might end up losing that client, right? And you don't want to end up on a YouTube video somewhere for
as a Karen.
Yes.
I do. I think it goes back to, it is about respect. I also think that, there's when we have our own businesses and stuff, and I think that people who ask things of us that aren't fair, it's I think it is going back to whether they respect or not. But I think that a lot of these things, especially with boundaries in work and in personal, but I think it's about respecting ourselves. So like you said, I mean, you make a really great point that if we don't respect ourselves and create those boundaries with the clients during the day and the work day, even though we can work at night and weekends, it is going to, and maybe it is even more nights and weekends too, because these are little things that start to tick and tick and tick, like you said, and you could bring that home, or you could be, even if you are working from home, that it's about, I think, respecting ourselves and our spouse and our family and our kids. It's like, hey, if you're going to put the clients these outrageous or unruly expectations of thinking that you're going to be working nights and weekends before your kids, or your significant other, that's not fair to them. So I think it's kind of not setting those boundaries to not get into that habit, because you're the only one that can change that. You know, there's other people that are affected here.
Yeah.
In those situations, not for me. I'm just like, I can do whatever.
Well, I mean, I think that's why we all became like our own business owners and our own self-employed. You do this because of time freedom, of the ability to choose when you want to work and when you don't want to work, right? And that's why we got started in this. That's why I left corporate America, because it was like you had to be there, right? You had whatever your schedule was, right? If you were clocking in, it was worse if your salary, right? They could just have you there the entire day. But yeah, it's that's the reason we got into this. But it's learning like how to set those healthy boundaries, where you're still there for your client, but at the same time, you're there for yourself. You made a great point. Right. You have to be there for yourself and for the people around you, because then your work suffers. And then where are you at? Right. Yeah.
And I think that it's hard, because I think that we do want that freedom and that time to be able to, hey, I go do things during the day that, I try to keep a good schedule and be at my desk all day. Right. But there's times where, you need to have an appointment, or I see my sister, and there's things that are going to happen during the work day that, like I said, I then use that night to switch that time. But I have the right to do that. That's why you're right. Like, I want to be able to do those things, but for the most part, I try to keep that work day schedule. But I think that also I was going to say something about the emails, about doing, I think one of the article, it actually said about doing the office out of office. And I wanted to bring that up because I'm afraid to do this, because I am worried. I get so many like spam emails that not spam, but like I sign up for stuff. Like, let's say I get a weekly email on this, or I get you get these emails that you sign up for. If I put an out of office on, does that go back to them? And then it says undelivered, and it comes back to me, and then it goes out of office, and it goes back to them. Is this going to would that create a chain back and forth? I haven't really tried it. So I would love to do that and say, thank you for or maybe it's like, if it's a new person, thank you for your email. We've received your email. We'll get back within 24 hours. Our office hours are such and such. And that would be like a very initial, here's the office hours, because I work from home, and anybody now that works from home, especially during COVID, it's like it's almost like, you are working from home. You're at your desk. If it were a physical, and this is going to be a change for a lot of people, because a physical location, you go there, you might only have your email on that. Now, of course, most people have their email on their phone.
Yes.
Now, if I were to have a 9-to-5 job and I were to go in there, I don't know. Would I have my email? I would probably have my email on my phone. Maybe not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like, when you were talking, I was like, maybe it's a good practice to take your email off, or at least your business email. But then another question is like, do you have a separate email for business versus like personal stuff that you're getting, or you use one email for everything?
I'm dumb. I have like, I actually use like Gmail, like, because obviously we have like the MillenniYell at Gmail, and I had originally started MillenniYell by Mel at Gmail, and I don't have like Melissa Miller or I don't have that like Gmail, so I use those sometimes for certain things, if I need to, if I want to. But yeah, I'm dumb. I use my business, like my Melissa Made to Keep, as a personal and business, at the same time, and that's where it gets a little tricky with, turning it off and not turning it off. But I think it's more of a matter of like the self-discipline of not looking at it too.
I think my fear is so I created in preparation for this. I would say as you like I use one email for like work and personal, and so I actually created a second Gmail account, right? But my fear is like because I'm thinking about transferring everything over there. But my fear is like, am I going to be disciplined enough to make sure I'm checking that out of the box?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's an issue because I don't want people to say like, oh, well, he never got back to me and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I never saw the email. And so, but I think it's good practice probably to have a separate email.
Yeah.
So you don't run it. So you can put up that office thing that says, I think it should just be not even an out office. I think it should be an automatic email response that says, hey, I have seen your email, or I've received your email. I will get back to you as soon as I can, right? Because you said that with your voicemail, right? You're like, hey, this is Melissa, blah 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 blah. I will get back to you at your at my earliest convenience, right? And so why can't we do the exact same thing with our emails, like So,
and some people do. I mean, I've emailed some people and it says, we've received your email. Thank you. We'll get back. Somebody will get back to you or something. And I think that could be something that I would definitely do. I just think that there's just this complete difference between somebody who goes to their desk, who's like my accountant. Like I know that he goes, let's say it's 7 to 3 or something, 7 to, I don't know. There is no expectation that dude is working on my stuff nights and weekends. Like, no. Okay. He's going in, and he has his own business. It is his business. Right. But he goes into the office and there's employees and there's secretaries and there's all that. That is something like, it's going to be during those set office hours. Right. Yeah, he could be working at night. He could be working over the weekend from home, right? But that person, the established, you have that like established concept in your brain that's what's happened. But yet there's other people who, and maybe it's just like taking somebody seriously, or you have to take yourself serious, even if you don't have the brick and mortar or the office or that. Maybe it just goes back to the initial, like being serious versus being flexible and laid back and casual. I don't know.
I think also changes too while in your business cycle. Like when you're young, right, in business and you've like first started off and like you don't have that connection of people, you don't have the business quite cooked up yet, right? And it's like you're getting those referrals, right? And it's like you're just taking anything that comes your way, right? You're like, I'll talk to whoever. Like I'm still like that, but from the sense of like, you'll respond at any time. You'll bend over backwards because you're really trying to, ramp up the hustle so that you can really get this thing off the ground, right? And so I think that plays a factor. Like now that I've been doing this for a while, like I don't feel the need to do that anymore.
Right.
But for those clients that I did that for, like now it's like, I set that precedence.
Right.
So it's like trying to walk that back is a difficult thing too.
Right. Yeah. And that's where, I think that is. I think it's kind of just the upfront, that initial interaction and how you set it. I think it goes a lot better when I kind of put it out there up front, hey, shoot me an email. These are the hours or such and such, and then if I'm really excited and I'm, meeting somebody out and we're, it's a very social, very casual setting. I guess it's just different. I think it's just how we hold ourselves to it. I think I just have to do a better job being a little bit more, and I don't use the word professional because I am professional, but I think it's the more you take yourself seriously about certain things, the more other people will right off the bat.
Of course.
You know, and that's where I've said things, you know, my brother was interning for me. I used to have a project manager and, you know, and other freelancers, and that's where I say, hey, you know, someone will get back to you, or my intern will get back to you or something. It's hard because it's just me, and I am single, and I, you know, I don't have kids. So I do think that it's like these assumptions and or expectations that other people put. But I think that, you know, when there's more people, when there's an office, when there's assistants, when you're not the first go, like I'm the person that they come to. When there's somebody in between as a barrier, that's a whole nother story, because they go to that person first, like, you know, an assistant or a secretary, let's just say, and that person's usually only working office hours.
Yeah.
And that sort of sets it right there, is like, well, you can't get to me at any time you want. I'm not on call. You got to go to my initial person. So that's also something that, you know, when I had that project manager, it was almost like, and I don't use the word a barrier, but I almost feel, it was more serious. It was absolutely a boundary, that they couldn't get through, but I mean, they could, but I think that's what I'm saying. Like, when there's more people and it's just you, it looks like you're doing it all. You work at any hours, you know, you're on call, whatever. But when there's somebody else, oh, you have a secretary, oh, they have an assistant, oh, they have a project manager. It just gets more serious. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. It's like, and like, you don't want to use the word, like, we're all professional, but like, it seems like, oh, well, this is just like any other normal business, right? Like, if I was walking into, you know, wherever, a doctor's office, right? You're going to meet a receptionist first. You're not going to just walk in and the doctor is going to be sitting there waiting for you, right? You're going to have to talk to somebody first. And I think that's, you know, when you are the face of your business, when you're the only person in it, that bound, you're, you know, they talk about it all the time. It's like, when you run your own business, you wear what? Multiple hats, right? You're you're the marketing person. You're the payroll person. You're this, you're that, right? You're wearing all these hats. And so, like, being able to get to a point where you can delegate some of that stuff, like you said, like have a project manager where it's like you have another point of reference. It's not all falling on you. It is, you know, could definitely be a barrier or boundary that could help you, you know, with the client situation. So no, I totally agree.
Yeah. And I think that takes the weight off of us too, to feeling like we need to be available 24/7. I think when there's somebody else there and they're yielding the calls or the emails, I think that you start to not feel that pressure and that stress to be available all the time, because it's a little bit more clear that there's set hours for work. And, you know, so now we need employees.
Yes, we need to get to that point where we can actually have employees. Well, one thing I did want to bring up, and it mentioned it in that article, and you've already talked about schedules, right? And I still use my 10X book, right? With my
I use it every day. Yep.
You know, and I put my little goals in there and stuff like that. So, but it has a spot in there for you know, for your schedule. You know, it's just blank. It's got times, little slots. You write in what you want to do. If you don't have one of those, you're in business for yourself, and you don't schedule your time, you're probably like feel like you're all over the place. That's how I felt.
Yeah, but, and with goals, absolutely. You know, writing them down every morning.
But one of the things that this mentions is scheduling a time to respond to said emails. Like if you like, maybe it's like 3:00 or 3:30, right? You've gotten all your emails, and you know, you start to respond to them at that point, unless it's like a dire need thing. Like, you know, you can see the email come through, and maybe it's like somehow, I'm sure in Google, there's some way to like flag them and stuff like that. But like, okay, I need to respond to that immediately, or I need to, you know, kind of, I can push this off until response time. But I think that's interesting, is having like a set response time for emails, text messages, Facebook messages, stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because I even say this, there's days where I do that and then there's days when I don't, but I could sit and just respond to emails all day. I mean, it takes hours. I mean, when I was talking to my brother and, with the internship and documenting your hours and pay and your time, everything, that's why I charge an admin. People are like, what's this admin? Oh, well, because I'm emailing the printer to get your estimate and then I'm sending you the estimate and then you're responding and then I'm changing the estimate. And that all takes time. It's kind of like an attorney. It's billable time and hours, right? But yeah, I mean that stuff. There's days where I spend hours probably added up just responding to emails. Whether it's obviously sending files out and proofs and things to print, or it's just answering questions and deleting all the junk email that I stupidly sign up for. But
to get
yeah,
the discount, I understand.
Yeah. To get the free birthday sub, the free birthday thing. No, but yeah, I mean, I do that. I do that sometimes, and I know that I'm a lot more productive that way. Jason Clock from Clock Entertainment, shameless plug again, but he actually taught me. We did a podcast together before you and I had gotten together, and one of his things is that he does I want to call it like blackout hours, where he kind of turns his phone off. He turns I think he turns his phone off and or like social media, let's just say, just to do emails or just to do work, like, or what I mean. He turns off all the other distractions. He doesn't, I don't think, do the emails all day. I think he says like maybe 8 a.m. and like 3 p.m. I think those are like the two different times maybe that he mentioned. I don't know. But he only responds during those times. So you kind of just do it all at once too, because yeah, I mean, I think if somebody sends you an email and you literally respond right back, they're going to respond back and then they're going to expect you to respond back. And if you don't, then it's like, well, what, it's just like texting, like, oh, they just didn't, they stopped responding. But that instant gratification, if you're letting it sit, getting your work done, prioritizing, and then going and hammering it all out at one time, it's not like the person's getting that instant gratification right away to set that precedence that you're sitting there answering their email, whether it's at your desk or on your phone. And for me, I am at my desk like a lot. Most of my stuff is I'm sitting here designing. So I also think that people do know that. And I do shut off my text sometimes, and I do shut off my email sometimes so that I can just actually work and not be distracted. But I had, I had somebody text me, a client texted me, and I don't think I had my phone on me where I was charging, or I just kind of set it away just so that I wasn't distracted with it. But they didn't email me. I didn't see their text for like 2 or 3 hours. They were like, hey, can we hop on a Zoom to do XYZ? And I was like, call me or email me. Like, I'm at my desk, but I had turned off my texts. And my best friend Marcel puts her do not disturb on. She'll either say, hey, I'm putting do not disturb if you don't hear from me, just like a heads up, and or like hours and hours will go by even during the day, or sometime at night, and she'll just say, hey, I put it on, I was so busy with work and schoolwork. She's like, I have to put this do not, and I was just, that's a great idea.
It really is. Yeah, I put that on at night, like at 8 o'clock. Like I started doing that, and this was like, I don't get any, like, obviously the text messages and stuff come through, but you're not like the notification, the phone doesn't ring, right? It's like, if only certain people should be calling you past 8 o'clock, right? Especially.
Yeah, that's what I said about the timing. I mean, I always look at it. I actually have said to one or two people that, and they're guys, but I just said, hey, you woke me up, or like way too early, like please don't text me before this. Like I will absolutely say that, because I'm such a late sleeper that just because you get up at 5:30 a.m. I mean, now that I have been getting up early, but prior to that, I like my sleep still, and I absolutely don't have a problem saying something. But at 9, 10, 11 o'clock, if your phone is buzzing and you're in a relationship, like, yeah, obviously everyone, hopefully you trust each other, and that it's not anything that is inappropriate coming through. But people think because when you are single or you're in a relationship, that's something different too, because, or people that don't have kids or, that do, they don't look at that. Sometimes when you don't have those other things in your life, oh, it's okay to text somebody at 11 o'clock. No, it's not. To me, whether it's business or not, I'm just saying.
No, you're totally spot on. Like it's just what we've been saying the entire time. If you haven't been watching, is it's just healthy to set boundaries, because I think it improves the relationship. Like no matter what it is, when people know there's lines that they can't be crossed, right? They expect that, right? And it just makes for clear communication in any relationship, whether it's business, whether it's friendship, whether it's a love relationship, right? Communication is the main staple that holds that thing together. So
yeah, and actually I wanted to bring this up too, which is interesting because I know we've talked a lot about with clients, and obviously, it's time and the phones and the calling and the emails and things that we need to do. A lot of this, my who in the corner here is buzzing that something arrived that I bought. I don't want to say her name, but it just keeps buzzing. It's funny. But I think that, it's not only establishing those boundaries with other people, but with ourselves. Like you said, we have to do a better job with how can we, do things ourselves and create those boundaries for ourselves. But but a good point too, not just in what we've talked about, is also creating boundaries sometimes with the work, we talked about friends, with working with friends, and how that can be a hard, difficult situation, but also like people of the opposite sex, like for me and with guys. So I have to create boundaries sometimes because some people think that, when it's a professional, or if it's a meeting or it's something, then it's more than what it is, and yeah. I have to, so there's so many different things that we obviously, don't have time to touch on, but that's another thing is, separating friendship, relationship, interest, work, client. It's hard because there are certain people that I've done stuff for and that are clients that, want to take me on a date, and I unfortunately want to keep that professional relationship and that friendship, but I have to go through other boundaries of making things that say, no, I'm not interested, or, but I want to keep that client. That's a hard thing to do sometimes too.
Yeah. And I would say, just be speaking out loud, right? We're allowed to do this on this show, right? Just speak our mind, right?
Isn't that what we do all the time anyway?
But obviously, as a woman, you run into that situation a lot more than I do, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's not a situation I don't think I've ever run into where
the Cougars aren't out for you, Billy. Look out, Meg! The Cougars are coming.
I'm always like, listen, like I always let them know. But it's I mean, on my standpoint, like when it comes to setting boundaries, like I think even the first message I wrote you when about networking is like, listen, I want to network. Like I don't want to. Yeah. It's not about like anything else other than networking and setting that precedence and boundary really quickly.
Absolutely.
On my end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think it's on both ends, you're like, hey, I want to network, reach out, it's like you're married, this isn't inappropriate, this is like blah, blah, blah. But I mean, there's people out there that are not doing that are doing it for like the opposite,
I'll even make a joke about it sometimes. I'll be like, listen, I know there's a lot of creepy people on social media. Yes. I'm not trying to be one of them, like I'll try to make a funny about it,
right?
And, kind of like get the guard down and be like, hey, I'm just here. You're a business owner. I'm a business owner. Let's see if we can help each other out, right?
Right. Absolutely. Well, yeah, and I think it's very respectful and respectable, or whatever, that you put it out there from the start to have those boundaries for yourself, for your marriage, for your wife, but also for the other person. So the other person understands and feels that it's not appropriate. Like you're kind of overall across the board creating those boundaries for all of you at the same time, and putting it out there, because I think that there's been people that, guys that definitely have crossed that line, and it's uncomfortable for me. And then also it's not fair to them, their wife, and everybody. It's just not okay. So putting that out there, and then, but again, and it's my responsibility to set the boundary, when somebody's not. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think today was like a really awesome show. I know I said that at the beginning, and it was not to pat ourselves on the back and stuff like that, but it is that time of the show where, for those that are maybe just joining, maybe are listening, where we share the millennial meme of the week.
Millennial meme.
And I actually, to let you know, for the first time ever, I went on to Fiverr, right? And I was looking for somebody that could make a jingle. Like,
I love it.
For the millennial meme.
So I don't have to say it every week?
Yes. And so we
Did you find anybody?
I hadn't gotten an answer back yet, but I'm still looking. I've never used it before, so I don't really know what I'm doing quite yet. And I want to make sure like I'm getting the proper stuff and whatnot. But it'll be interesting, like be able to attach it to that overlay, because we use this wonderful system called StreamYard where it makes us look really professional, but really pushing a couple buttons. But it is my turn for the millennial meme of the week, because Mel did hers, and is mine even? Yeah, I think. Hold on a second. Mine doesn't look like it's.
I don't see it on the back end here.
Here we go. Let's see.
Operator error. Billy has one job, is to run the back end of this. No, he has a lot more responsibility. You do a great job.
So it's uploading, but here it is. Okay, cool. So I'm going to display my millennial meme. and it's funny because before we got on here, guys, I was like, oh shoot, I got to get a millennial meme. And Mel was like, you are like, every time you get a meme, like you get it really fast. Like it just pops up. And so I'm laughing, chuckling, because I see this meme was the first one. I was like, oh, this is perfect. And for those that aren't going to be able to watch this or listening, it's from the movie. What's the name of the movie? Why did I just forget it? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original, not whatever the last one was.
Yes.
But this is the original, and it's I can't remember. I think her name is Veronica.
Veruca Salt.
Yeah,
right? Veruca Salt.
And she's yelling and screaming, saying, "I want it now!" That scene where before she falls down the shaft, but she's screaming. Yes. It's a picture of her yelling, and it says, "I'm the client. Do what I say now."
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of a funny. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Put her down the chute. Let her go down the chute. I want it now. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's with the Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder, the original, the best one in my mind. Also,
Peggy did say you had one job, so
I did.
You blew it. So, Billy does a great job. He, I let him run the controls. And look at Derek last week. Got so he didn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah,
he was so used to the show.
Yeah, he was so used to running that thing, and so, but he kind of took a little control of the show, which I don't mind.
He did a good job.
He did a good job.
We let him. We're accommodating. We're we're not.
Yeah, we're not like those weird millennials that has to have it their way all the time.
Right. Not all the time.
Yeah, but there is another moment. Right. And Mel missed it last week because we had special guests, and whenever we have a guest, right, we give them the floor. So Mel's got like 2 weeks of just pent up Mel's moment. So it's her opportunity to share a little bit of wisdom, knowledge, pass some advice to us for us going into the weekend. So it's Mel's moment. So Mel, take it away.
Well, going on to the topic of boundaries, which we'd like to keep the moment somewhat in topic here. I would say absolutely start to consider creating boundaries for your clients, and even just things at work. Obviously, if people aren't entrepreneur, small business owners, entrepreneurs, it is honestly the best thing for you to respect yourself, and especially if you have a family and significant other, obviously. But I think that it will help with routines and personal situations. Boundary. I've done a really good job in the last couple of years with setting boundaries for myself in personal situations, where I think that it really changed the whole scope of a friendship or a relationship. And I think that I've done a really good job with that on the personal side, and probably need to do a little bit better on the business side here. But I know that it definitely works wonders when you respect yourself up front and you put that out there and you create those boundaries. Other people will absolutely respect you. And if they don't buy, and the same thing with clients. I mean, if they're not going to respect you, then they're not your client. If it's a person, a date, a friend, if they're not going to respect your boundaries, then they're not a real friend, or they're not the person that you should be with. So all across the board, I think absolutely, start being more assertive, I think, and putting that respect out there, and you'll really see, I think, how things change in those interactions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do it.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. I love it. And so with that said, guys, and I was just thinking about it too. I actually am looking for a Mel's Moment jingle too, because I think that's got to be like a star wipe or something like that, like old school.
I am so excited about this.
Maybe they'll make it like move and stuff like that too.
I have to tell you, I actually had a Fiverr. I know this is horrible because I'm a designer, and I'm like, they are designers too, obviously, and they're from all over the world. But I actually had one made for originally an animation for the megaphone, and the logo came out of the megaphone and it bounced, and it was like $15. So maybe I'll send it to you. I'll try to find it and see, but they're there and they're awesome, and you can just go back and forth. So I have had experience with that, and I am looking forward to seeing what you come up with here with our jingles. So I don't have to continue to be the person in the background.
Maybe we'll just record your voice and then I'll just use as the jingle. But anyways, guys, we hope that you enjoyed today. We hope that you maybe figured out how to set some boundaries when it comes to work, life, all those good things. But make sure you check us out every Friday. 2:00 is when we'll be going live from now on. But next week will be episode number 50. So it'll be the big 50 spot.
It's going to be big.
Yeah, so make sure you tune in for that. And then also just make sure you're just checking out our website. Go check out MillenniYell on Facebook and all the other places we have our podcast. But like I said, we appreciate you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Make some good memories with your family, your friends, all that good stuff. But we will see you next week. So have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.